Just take a look at this dual 1209 turntable. It's pretty locked up. To get the platter off, there's just a little snap ring here that should take off right in there, and then this pops right off. Well, let me put the camera down. Can't do it one-handed. There we go. Got it off. It's pretty heavy. And underneath looks really clean, like this has maybe been worked on recently. And the idler wheel looks in good shape. Let's go give this a weigh, see how much it is, how much it weighs. Okay, it's about a 4.5 pound platter. Not as much as the dual 1019 over there, which is, I think that's about a 7.5 pound platter. It's still pretty heavy. Let's take a look and see what's going on with this thing. Alright, and again, I got this turntable for free. It didn't have a base, it's just kind of in a piece of plywood here. But it actually has the same base as some of my other dual turntables, so I will sure be able to find something for it. Everything is locked up. The only thing that really works is the setting the size of the disc, and the Q lever works. The tone arm is locked up. It's not moving. The motor seems free. I'll go ahead and lubricate it, and you know, this is in actually really good shape, the idler wheel. The speed selector is locked up, pitch control is locked, anti-skating is locked, and I think this is that sets the weight, that's locked up. So pretty much everything has to be taken apart, cleaned, and re-lubricated. Go ahead and flip it over and we'll take a look at the bottom. Alright, here's the bottom side of the dual 1209 turntable. Get the platter off. And notice the wires have all just been cut, including the audio wires. When I just pull them out, they just come right off. Even the ground wire was cut, so looks like this was maybe hastily pulled out of maybe a console or something like that, and that's why it doesn't have a base. But that's okay, we can get it hooked fixed up. What I have noticed so far is that everything has just got a lot of gummed up grease. You can see this over here. This should be operating freely, and it's just kind of slowly returning. That one's not too bad. That one's got some grease on it, but it's kind of moving. This one here, which is really what turns the switch on and off, is, I mean, that should be moving freely, and it's just really, once you move it, it stays in position, even though it's got a spring that's supposed to spring it back. So that's locked up. Pretty much everything under here just has to be pulled apart, cleaned, and re-lubricated. So that's where we'll get started. Alright, I've already started disassembling this. I pulled out the, this is the start lever. Yeah, because this mechanism is all gummed up, especially the one that moves and turns the switch on and off. So I've isolated that down to this pivot right here. So I'm going to remove this. And this is loose, it's coming up. So I can clean that joint there. There's a screw right here blocking me from getting the parts. Let me take that off. Screwdriver. Stuck. Alright, I got this lever off, and inside there and this whole axle here just was sticky with that old grease that, you know, looks like this. Looks like earwax basically, and about the same consistency. So that's the stuff that hardens up and just gets real sticky and gums up these mechanisms. So you gotta get your isopropyl alcohol out and just clean all that stuff off really well. And then we'll re-lubricate it when we reassemble everything. Now there's still, this is still really sticky, and I think it's because this is stuck on that axle and there's a little clip right down here. Let me see if we can pop that off. There it goes. C-clip. Now, will this come off? I don't know. Nope. Okay. I'm going to have to take a look there and see what's holding that on. I don't see anything on there. I removed that clip and this is still stuck down. So sometimes the grease gets so bad you need to use a little bit of heat to get it to move. So I'm going to give that a try. Gotta be careful not to heat this plastic cam gear up too much. Okay, I had to completely unscrew this axle. This thing has what almost looks like, grease is so dried up it's like epoxy glue. You can't even scrape it off with your fingernail. So that seems to be what was locking this thing up. So I'll go ahead and clean it up, relube it, and reinstall it. Alright, got that mechanism all cleaned up, and now it moves freely. Again, it was just this axle right here and mostly this lever. So I can put the rest of the layers back in, and I think that's going to be okay. I'll put that back together before I forget how to do it, and then move on and do some of the other stuff. Alright, I'm going to go back to handheld just so I can show what I did. First of all, that's how many Q-tips it takes to get all that earwax grease just out of one part of the mechanism. And this is the main part that I was having issues with. This is part of the start-stop lever, you know, the little lever that you use to start and stop the turntables right down here. So I had to disassemble that, clean that out, and I added some new grease. And when I add grease, I use this stuff here, this Super Lube synthetic. Just take a little Q-tip and, you know, dab it where you need it. But mostly on reassemble, I'll just use a 3-in-1 oil or light synthetic oil. So this mechanism was locked up, and this part right here, which is the thing that turns the switch on and off, was locked up. Now this was locked up over here too. This is the adjustment mechanism for the different speeds. But mostly I just went in and lubricated that post right there that the thing slides up and down on, and the little detent ball. And that seemed to free up the mechanism pretty well. And here's the little turn thing that turns the, I guess what do you call that? the fine adjust on the speed, and that's freed up too. So that all seems to be working well. This, I think the auto changer, you know, it's still gummed up, but this is primarily if you're using a stacker spindle, which I won't be, I don't even have. So probably don't have to clean that up too much. Maybe I will anyway. The rest of it seems to be working. Let me still need to lubricate the motor and address this cut wire thing, but let's flip this thing back over and see how it works manually without the motor. Okay, I want to show this. I still haven't lubricated that idler wheel. Maybe it doesn't even need it. It's turning really well. And I haven't powered up the motor, but I think it's probably going to be okay. I'll still pull it out anyway. But the speed adjust mechanism, as you move that, it just moves that little idler wheel up and down. And then the fine pitch adjust, that's the word I was trying to come up with. As you turn this, I don't know if you can see it, but it just does a real fine adjust on the wheel here. And this is like a little cone-shaped thing, and as you adjust the wheel up and down, it changes the speed slightly. That's how that works. Okay, just got this, put the platter back on just temporarily. I haven't re-oiled that bearing yet, but this is turning very freely. Let me go ahead and remount the camera on the overhead, and we'll run through have it run through its paces just manually. Okay, got the tone arm unlocked, and as you move, the tone arm, you can hear the switch turn on and off, which if you want to manually set the tone arm down, you can do it that way. For automatic mode, this is set on 12 inches right now. Speed at this point doesn't matter where it's set. I'll put it at 33. So you hit start. Well, here, let me get this thing spinning. You hit start. And there it goes. It's over to the 12-inch position. Drops the needle. Starts playing the record. And as it hits the run-out groove, it does its return thing. And turns the switch off. I'll go ahead and put it on 7 inches for a 45. Restart it. It should come over about here. There it goes. That looks like the 7-inch position. And reject. Okay, 10-inch. Do it one more time. I'll put the cueing lever set here so it doesn't set all the way down. I'll double check that. Maybe that's 10-inch. But now if you want to stop, reject, you hit that there, and goes ahead and does a reject. Double check 12-inch. Guess it's going to come over to about here. Yeah. And into the record. Alright, so mechanically this thing is working 100%. Even the tone arm is doing its slow drop, or the cueing lever is doing its slow drop. So mechanically I think we're okay. Ooh, that anti-skate is still locked up. So I guess I got to work on the tone arm area down here. And then rewire the motor so we can get it spinning. Maybe do a relube on the motor too, but the thing I was most worried about, all the mechanical automatic stuff, seems to be working right. It's a good thing. Alright, I went and pulled the screws out of the bottom of the motor. bottom cap off. And get some oil in here in this bearing. And this part of it. Now, I guess before I boil that, this won't come all the way up because of the collet that's on the other side. So what I'm going to try to do is just stand this up. Oh, here. There we go. Let's do it this way. Now, see the bottom bearing cap you can get to. I'll just lube that up in the shaft. Slide that around on there and get the back side of that bearing holder too. And there we go. That's well lubricated. Oh. So I could take this completely apart. Look at that. Give it a little extra. Now I've gotten grease all over there, or oil all over the thing here. So if I really wanted to take this, I don't really want to have to readjust the height of this. That's why I'm not taking it off. That's well lubricated. So I'll put this back in. Get this lined up just right. And back together. It's a little awl to go down in here and get all the pieces and parts lined up properly. Extra oil on the bottom cap. Okay, so these screws will go back in. Looks like they are. Alright, so there we got the old dual motor in the 1209 all lubed up. I gotta figure out a way to get some AC to this just to see if it's going to turn. So I need to pick up a base for it. That's not quite aligned right. And I want to make sure everything works before I go on eBay and purchase a base that's up for sale. So if the motor turns, then I'm sure I can get everything else working just right. So that's my next test. Alright, got the motor screwed back in position. So I'm just going to clean up this to make sure that I don't have any oil from when I was touching it. I have to get on the idler wheel. Clean up the idler wheel too here while I'm at it. It is remarkably pliable for what I'm assuming is the original one from 1970, but it feels like brand new. Alright, let's get some AC to that motor and see if it turns. Alright, I went through my wire collection. I've got a bunch of new ones, but I kind of wanted to keep this vintage, and I found an old, a non-indexed plug. Looks like it was probably on a turntable or something similar. So, and I don't have any of these pins in here for where this goes in to the connector. So I think I'm going to cheat and just make a connection here, and then wrap it up with heat shrink to protect it. So, I'll give that a try. See how that works. It's even got a bunch of old dust and dirt on it from its previous use. Hopefully it's good. I don't see why I would throw it back in my good pile if it didn't work. Okay, there we go. There's a quick and dirty power cord swap. So I think I'll go ahead and turn this thing over and plug this into a, maybe we'll use the dim bulb tester just to make sure before we do a full up test and see if that motor will spin. Okay, we got it flipped over and plugged into the dim bulb tester and the isolation transformer for safety. So here we go, acid test. I'm going to start. Look at that. Hands free. It's turning on its own. Keying lever up. Okay. And hit stop. Excellent. Alright, let's get the old cell phone speed app running here. See how close or how far off we are. Set on 33 right now. Not too far off. 33.7. I'll adjust it down a little bit. We may not have enough pitch adjust, so we may need to play with the pitch adjust mechanism, because that's all the way slow and I can only get it down to 33.4. Let's just do a quick check. I think that's going to be a little fast. Not bad for the first time we fired this thing up. Oh, and I did figure out the anti-skate. It wasn't locked up. There's actually a little detent there that it was stuck down into. You need to pull this up and spin it. Okay, so 33.43. The wow is 0.1. Not too bad for an old idler wheel machine. Let's try a couple different, let's try 45. There, we're turning a little slow. So, again, this motor hasn't run in probably decades, so I might just let the thing run and see if it speeds up on its own. There's 45, and 78. Yeah. Actually, it's running a little faster than it should, so it'll only get looser. So I'll probably have to do some pitch adjustments. So 78 is pretty accurate. And 45. Make it very accurate with 45. 33. Well, there we go. 33 is working better now. I think that, you know, that mechanism that adjusts up and down maybe still a little sticky, so that wasn't allowing it to ride all the way down as far as it should. So let's try this now. Mostly going to be playing 33, so that's the speed I'm for the most part interested in getting accurate. Uh-oh. Somebody's calling me. Let me pause and start that again. Okay, let's redo that. Looks like it's dead on 33 and third. So let's check to see what it's looking like. And I will go ahead and let it run because you know, the wow and flutter will kind of improve with running too. So I'll let it run for an hour or two and see if that improves as the you know, system kind of wears in. 33.31. Oh, look at that. Well, that's already great. So 33.31 with a wow of 0.08%. There we go. Good old duals. Okay, I think this is good. All I got to do is find a base for it, and probably try the cartridge and see if it's any good. But boy, this thing's almost ready to start spinning some records. Okay, this thing's working properly, at least the turntable part. I promised a viewer I would do, next time I worked on a turntable, I would do a tone arm setup check. So, if you've seen this before or know how to do it, you could skip forward, but I'm going to go ahead and check this one out. I've balanced the tone arm, and I can show you how I'll do that too, but I wanted to check the, let me just dial in an ounce here of weight. I wanted to check these, the tone arm protractor here, and this thing is way off. I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in. See, that's supposed to be square with this little grid, and it's like hugely off. So I think this tone arm is pulled way out. Now, there's a little adjustment right here. Back up. There's a length adjustment here, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can undo that. Well, that's for the weight. Yeah, that's just way off. I got to figure out a way of adjusting that, because that can't be right. It doesn't look like that tone arm length is adjustable, but as you can see here, the cartridge itself is pushed way forward, as far forward as it'll go. So I'm going to try moving that back and see if I get a better alignment on the cartridge. Alright, I pushed the cartridge all the way back as far as it would go, and then cocked it just a little bit this way, and it looks like it's pretty darn close. You can see from above how it seems like it's lining up a lot better, but really all you can see is this top part right here. What you really need to look at is the cartridge plastic itself. So let me bring the camera down and see if I can get a better view of that. And this alignment protractor is just one I printed out off the internet. It's the, what do they call it, the Bearwald, and just got it from vinylengine.com. You can download these, print them out, and then you can buy them too, nicer ones, but this is what I've got. So if you, what you want to do is get the needle right on the line there. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed. And then you want to sight right along this edge here, oops, that straight edge of the cartridge, and see if it lines up with that line there that goes directly to the spindle. So you want to do it at that point, and then also at this point, going in, something like that. You do it better, but that's the idea. And if the front part of the cartridge lines up, when the needle is on this line, the front part of the cartridge is lined up with this line in both spots, then you've got the cartridge set properly, aligned properly. Get rid of that. Now we'll go ahead and do the tone arm balance too. Okay. Now for balancing the tone arm, it's best to have the turntable turned off for this. Go ahead and put the stylus guide down just in case I hit that. So you want to have the anti-skating set to 0, and the weight adjustment set to 0. You can see it's going too high, so you adjust the counterweight in the back. Get it heavier so that it just floats. Even though I got the anti-skating turned off, I thought it's still bringing it back. Try that in a different position. Ooh, that's really a lot of anti-skating. Okay. So you see, you get this to kind of balance just off the turntable. Right about there. Then you can go and dial in your weight up here for the cartridge, which I believe, let's see, these V15 I believe, that's about 1 or maybe a little bit less. And then you set the, let me show this here. On anti-skating, you've got 2 settings. You got one for a conical stylus and one for an elliptical. To be honest, I don't remember if this is elliptical or not, but I'm going to set it to 1 for elliptical because that's what I usually use. So that's it. So we got the weight set at 1 and the anti-skating set at 1. But what I'm going to do is use a little gauge here to see if that's accurate. Alright, so I got this balanced, and the weight set on 1. Still have the anti-skating set on 0. So got about 1 ounce there, it feels like. So what I'll do is use the scale here, and this is supposed to set flat, and these have got ridges on them, so what I'll do is just put a record on that so that I can get a better measurement. Turn that light on and let it balance. Okay, so put the needle right down on the scale. It weighs about 1.3, a little heavy. So I'll dial this back just a hair. 1.12. And I'm going for 1. I think that's what these are supposed to set at. There we go, 1.0. Now I'll set the anti-skating at 1, and it should be ready to play. So that's it for a tone arm setup. So we did the cartridge alignment and the tone arm weight adjustment, balancing, and set up the anti-skating and the weight setting right there. Alright, got my Lloyd Rowland album out to, it's my demo record of choice. I know I won't get any copyright hits off of YouTube because this is like I think it was a friend of my parents who made his own album. So I've done it before and know that it won't produce a problem. So here we go. Let's see if this sets down the right spot. Like it has. Scratchy.
No, I'm running through my mind. Or have I left my dreams? Left me with my mind.
Let's see if it does a return at the run out groove. Alright, there we go. So it looks like this turntable just needs a base and it'll be ready to go. And I have actually found one on eBay and ordered it once I found the motor was going to be okay. So that should be coming in a few days, and this one will be all ready to go. Another turntable saved from the trash. And this was one that I got from kind of a free gift as a part of a estate sale that I had picked up some audio equipment. And they just threw in a couple old turntables that the guy who had passed away had laying around, and he was actually, I think, working on this at the time of his passing because he had this temporary thing made up for it. So I'm happy to be able to complete that restoration for him and get a hold of this turntable, and we'll be using it for years to come. Thanks for watching the video.